Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ask the Amigos for March, April, actually April.
Some month.
Some
Doesn't
month
matter.
in the future. We are here and we are answering Discord's burning questions.
Get used to it.
So if you are a supporter of Amigos, you can ask us questions on our Discord
Also,
server.
thank you.
Also,
We love you.
Duncan Styles leads things off. He
I heard
says,
him.
when did you last do something in the name of science, and what was it?
Well, you know, I work at a crime lab.
Yes. It looks like the Batcave.
It is the Batcave. And this week I did science. I routinely do science. In fact, in my crime lab, I've got all four of beaker, simulators, spinning liquids in little containers, bleeping stuff going on, and that's just in my area. If you go into the drug forensics lab that's near my lab, because these are my compatriots, these are my
It's like
partners.
CSI, right?
It's a lot like
Yeah.
it. It's an all-chick review in there, by the way.
Hey,
And they're going to
there's
work.
a worse place to work.
And they're all great girls. They're going at it. And then
Whoa.
down the line, Boat, you've got the old school, gun forensics,
Yeah.
including a shooting range that's right across from my door. They go in there with an elephant gun. It shakes crap off the wall. That's a shoot. That's a shoot. Okay. So I'm telling you right now, do science. I am freaking science. There you go. What about you?
Nothing. I don't do anything in the name of science.
You blowing stuff. You got that going for you. It's sort
Yeah.
of like an intoxilizer.
That's true. That's true. We'll go with that.
Trust me, you blow. You're proving that.
I can't beat yours. Benz asks, what's the closest that you've come to slapping a comedian?
Do you consider yourself a comedian? Because about 2 hours ago, that's what I thought about it. And you badmouth the Coco.
Have you ever
Slap
been? Have you ever been to a stand-up show in person?
Oh boy, no. And I wouldn't go to one because I don't like them.
Mm.
I don't like stand-up comedy. It's with a few very, very minor exceptions. It's not my bag. I don't. The funny thing is, I love Don Rickles, but I don't like insult comics either. So, no, I would never go to one. I don't think I've ever been to a show. I've been to a show where they had a comedian come up as part of an overall cavalcade of crap, and they're not that good for me. It didn't do it for me.
I've never been close to slapping a comedian.
There you go. Well, you're really killing it today with these answers.
I got nothing. Okay, Benz asks, what's a game franchise or hobby that you didn't get to at the time, and now feel that it's too late?
Ham radio
That's a good one.
would be the one that would come into my head. I had friends that were into it. The Chud was in the CB radio. I don't miss that one too much, but that time is gone. Chud had a big antenna in the backyard, like a huge one.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, it was
I can picture it.
This full layout. He'd be like, this is a sidewinder. And the thing is, he never moved. So truckers would be driving by. I didn't mean to turn this into a Like Fun of Chad segment, but that's when you talk about these crazy
Well, what's
hobbies.
hilarious is I used to be real into CB and I do the same thing.
Oh, you
So,
geeks
yeah,
are all
yeah.
like. But when I was, ham radio was sort of cool.
Mhm.
It's still useful. I mean, sorta.
Listen, when it goes down, that's going to be
when it
what's
goes
left.
down, but
Yep.
when it goes down, the last thing I want to do is talk to other ham operators.
It's true.
In the old days, you had to go study for a test to get a license.
I
and
think you
crap.
still have to study for the test. You
I've
just don't
heard
have to
it's-
know Morse code anymore.
I've heard it's geek levels of easy
Yeah.
these days. In the old days, if you missed the Morse code one dot, there's a guy behind you with one of those antennas whacking
right
you.
on you.
What about you?
A couple things. As far as game
Because
franchises,
you've had so many hundreds of
right.
hobbies.
As far as game franchises go, definitely something like Dwarf Fortress. Have you heard of Dwarf Fortress before?
What I must have missed this part of the question. How did game franchises come into this?
I'll ask the question.
Yeah, read it again.
What's a game franchise or hobby that you didn't get to yet?
Okay, go ahead. I've
So,
never heard of
Dwarf Fortress
That
is-
sounds awesome.
It's
though.
a very, very deep simulation of building your own dwarf fortress where the dwarves, everything's procedurally generated, and the dwarves, like, sometimes they go insane. Sometimes they massively procreate and you can't control them. Like, it just, but it's all very, it's like roguish. It's all
This
very,
is not put over dwarves.
it's all ASCII based.
Yeah.
It's incredibly deep, but it's also incredibly awesome. I'd love to get into that. No way I'll ever have time to do that again. As far as hobbies go, probably sailing. I wish that I would have gotten into sailing
You did get
earlier.
into it.
But we live too far away from a sailing location.
No, we don't.
Yes,
There's
we do.
tons of lakes around here.
No, there's not.
What about Summersville Lake?
Summersville
about-
Lake is 2 hours away.
Okay, what about the lake there in Carter County? It's got boats on it, tons of them.
Yeah, there's
Also, the rivers here. We got tons of
you
rivers.
can't really sail on a river very well.
Well, you can't.
Well, yeah, I definitely can't, especially with the barges coming. You can't control a sailboat. Like you can't.
You were a master sailor for like a week.
No, I was into it for about a year.
Did you ever tell your sailing story on the show?
That
was one of the great stories.
Which one are you talking about?
The one where the guy was sailing. He was good at sailing. No, didn't ring a bell to you.
I went.
He went out and sank or whatever.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. So yeah, this is a great story. So this is what I was in. So I went out to, where did we go? I think we went to Beach Fork or someplace like that.
You could sail there too. That's only an hour away.
Yeah,
not even an hour, half hour.
And so it's longer than that. But anyway, we go out there and I'm in a sunfish. Okay, a sunfish is like,
sounds creepy.
This is like when you grow up on the water and you're about 5 or 6 years old, you start sailing on a sunfish. It's like
a kiddie boat.
It's a kiddie sailboat. Okay,
but you were in it as an adult.
But I was in it as an adult.
Okay.
Adults race them too. It's sort of like kart racing. Right. Like there's adults that are into that.
You drove the kart race in a car.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I go out there in the sunfish, and this guy has the monster mega sailboat, and I'm there sailing around, and I'm out there for like 45 minutes before the guy even gets it rigged.
Yeah.
And then as soon as he launches, all the wind dies, and he's like, let's just go. And then he takes everything down and he puts everything back in. So, but anyway, that's my sailing story.
Went sailing.
Yeah, that was literally the last time I went sailing.
That's sad.
One day, if we ever move to an area that's closer to sailing, I want to get back into it.
I'll go in the boat with you both.
All right. Yeah. I'm a master captain. I got the hat and everything.
No, you lost the hat.
The hat's no, I got
the blue one. You lost.
Oh, you're right. I did lose it because I was going to wear it to wrestling.
Pathetic.
Crazy Loomis asks.
Oh, wow, when this guy asks you a question, you know it's going to be good.
What's the best? Oh, this is a good one for you, Aaron.
Oh, good.
What's the best snack to have with a Mountain Dew?
Oh, man. Well.
Bam.
There you go. Unfortunately, I got no snacks. We haven't had lunch or dinner. Yeah. We got hosed.
What's the best snack to have with a Mountain Dew?
Man, you know what I'm into here recently? I love them, but I like these soft pretzels.
Oh yeah.
And you could, now listen, they call them super pretzels.
Yep. Put it in the microwave.
Let me tell you something. You couldn't get one of these things around here. You could kill a guy.
Well, you have to go to the ballpark to get one.
No. I buy them at the store. You see, and you cook them. And it tastes great. They're just like the ones at the ballpark. So I bought 6 or 8 boxes. I cleared out the Walmart in Kentucky, and I store them at the freezer in my lab. And then when I need some
right
at the
next
house,
to the cadavers.
When I need some at the house, I go in there and grab them. I'm going to drive home at a breakneck speed so they don't thaw, and throw them in our fridge. So I've got like about 5 in the freezer at the lab, a couple in the freezer at the pad.
That's a good system.
In fact, when we get done tonight, as sure as God made little green apples, both, I'm going to be rolling into the house and firing me up 2 of those pretzels.
Now let me ask you a question. One of the problems that I have with these is I've heard them getting the salt to stick to them. What's the answer?
Well,
to
see, that's the dumb guy issue. And this is going to sound stupid. You're like, that doesn't work. Wrong. What you do is you take these things out of the freezer, you run them under the tap.
Oh, get them wet.
That's right. You sprinkle the salt on there, or sugar, whatever. Pepper, what you want to put on them. And you cook them, and in the cooking, there's a chemical reaction. I can't get into it because you don't know enough about chemicals.
Science.
That adheres the salt to the pretzel, and that's when you eat that sucker. It's good eating.
I'll keep that in mind. That's Andy Craig asks.
Are you going to answer the question?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Here's something that's changed about me.
Yeah.
I used to be all about like Doritos.
I don't like Doritos anymore.
Like barbecue chips, sour cream and onion.
Those are good eating.
Now my favorite kind of chip is just plain Lay's. Just plain.
Why does that not surprise me, Bo?
I don't know why it is, but I really like just a plain potato chip.
You're the kind of guy that if he gets a tattoo, it's just a UPC symbol on your forearm.
That would be hideous.
No, I'm just saying. It's just, don't be generic, for God's sake.
I can't help who I am.
I just like plain Lay's. What kind of ice cream do you like? Well, I don't like ice cream. I just eat crushed ice. Come on! Is it just me?
Okay, Andy Craig asks.
Andy Craig.
In the grand tradition of naming Amiga main boards, what would you call a board if you were tasked with naming a new one?
Depends on how well the board worked. If it worked horribly, if it overheated, if it caused me lots of problems, I got a name for it. All right, which I'm not going to go into.
Okay.
I think you know what it is. Otherwise, I would probably name boards after my pets. I got Icky the cat. I got Snowball the cat over here. So Icky and Snowball, and maybe I could even work the Lukester in there. Or you could go with wrestling names. That'd be kind of fun. The worst ones, like the Maestro or something. Some real dumb wrestlers,
The Maestro seems cool. It seems like my kind of guy.
He's all right. What about you? What would you name the board?
I'd go with characters from the Canadian kids television show Under the Umbrella Tree.
Are you sure you're not Canadian?
Iggy
it makes
the iguana.
Sense. It makes
Jacob
sense.
the blue jay.
I never heard of that goofy cartoon.
Well,
is that some kind of Nickelodeon garbage?
It was run on Nickelodeon, but it was CBC at first.
There you go. Just like Caillou, right? The other generic show.
Caillou's kind of cool.
Oh yeah, nothing cooler than that geek, that freaky, big-headed freak.
Listen, some of us have
He would
big
roll
heads.
into the Peanuts gang and they'd beat him down. Even Linus would take advantage of that dork.
Cage match, Andy Craig says. Jack Tramiel versus Steve Jobs. Who would win?
Jack Tramiel would kill him.
Okay, yeah, first of all, Jack Tramiel, I'm pretty sure is a Holocaust survivor.
Yes, he is.
So he's going to destroy namby-pamby Steve Jobs.
Crush him.
Yeah.
His son would crush him, too. They could beat him up. Who asked that?
That way, Andy
Are
Craig.
you kidding me? Who would you pick to beat Tramiel? I wouldn't pick anybody. Because also he'd have a gimmick.
Right.
He's the kind of guy that would pull a fork or something out and go to work on your forehead.
That's right. That's right. So if it were a tag team match, who would you choose as the partner for each of these guys?
Well, Jack and his son would go in there. And then we're talking about who?
Steve
you
Jobs.
Gotta have Waz. He'd have to be the partner, and he would get murdered, too.
I would go with Bill Gates. It would be the ultimate geek boy combo.
I would like to see them both get slaughtered by the Tramiels. It would be good. And the funny thing is, the Tramiels would have foreign objects, but you can be darn sure they wouldn't pay for them. They would just hold out payment until the place that made the foreign object went under, and then they'd take them over.
That's right.
That's the Tramiel
That's how
way.
we do it.
Yeah.
Steve asks, what's your favorite English soccer team, and why is it Liverpool?
English soccer? My favorite English soccer team is no English soccer team.
I kind of feel like that stuff doesn't exist.
I'm going to go with
it's
the
like
Arsenal.
people just talk about. Arsenal?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Sheffield United, because that's where I used to live.
Now,
I'm going to go with Sheffield City, because I think they're the team that nobody cares about.
Yeah. Are they like at a lower
Yeah, they're on a lower echelon.
I would root for, it'd be fun to get on the ground floor of a really crap team that's on the rise.
Well, that's the great thing about English soccer, is that
it doesn't sound that great.
Any team, there's no such thing as professional leagues and amateur, they have an FA Cup, right?
Yeah.
And like the team over there at the Valley Park could ascend through the ranks all the way to the top.
Yeah, but let's face facts. How many of these teams ascend? Most of them are jobbers.
Well,
I've looked at these lists and stuff. It's like the bum masters. These guys get murdered. They're like the Bill Mulkey of soccer.
Now, I will say that when I was in Sheffield, they had a poster of the Sheffield soccer player, and their sponsor was Sheffield's Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
And on their thing, they had a teddy bear with his arm in a sling with a frowny face.
How odd.
That's not going to inspire you to win.
I don't know. Maybe they're sending a message. We're going to break your arm.
Maybe so. We're going to send you to the
You're going to
Children's
look
Hospital.
like this teddy bear.
Yeah. Pajako6502 asks, if you could ask one person one question and they could only tell the absolute truth, who would you ask and what would you ask them?
Oh, man, now that is a riveting question. You go first this time. I've been going first. You go ahead. One person, you ask them one question, they had to tell the truth.
I'm going to have to go back to Jesus again. I'm going to have to say, listen.
Metal Jesus or regular Jesus?
I don't speak about that guy. I'm going to just say, listen. Is it? What do you think? That's what I'd say. I'd say, what do you think?
That's not a question.
And that'd be like,
that's more you're asking an opinion.
I'd be a little intimidating too.
To Jesus?
I might bury him.
You're a horrible, horrible religious guy. I'm calling up the girl. You guys can go bad about the people in the corner. I would want to know an unknowable mystery. You know what I'm saying? Like
who would you approach about that?
Oh gosh, I'd have to really think about it. Because you're going to want to know something a mystery that goes throughout history. That you would never know.
Like what about ancient aliens? Who would you ask?
I don't know. I don't watch that show.
Well, I'm just talking about something like that. Like the aliens, were they behind all of the technology? That's an unknowable mystery.
Well, I'm trying to think of who's the most mysterious guy that I know. That is so mysterious, it makes you wonder if what he did was real.
The Chud?
No. No, not the Chud.
Do you know what he did was real?
No, I don't think it was fake. No one would purposely do that to themselves. I'm going to go with, there's a lot of rumors surrounding Caesar's intentions. Mark Antony
Mhm.
and a successor, and if he planned on appointing himself basically God. So I think I would ask him that. Like, where were you going to draw the line, Caesar? Because there's speculation that he got killed because they were trying to head him off at the pass from getting ultimate power, which is, you have to understand how that all works, because they'd given him sort of ultimate power, but they were worried that they didn't give it to him, he'd take it anyway. They wanted to do it legally so they could screw him later. So they put a time limit on his ultimate power, right?
Mhm.
I would like to ask him, were you going to seek a full-on ultimate power, or were you content with your station? Because there's some speculation that he had groomed someone to take over for him in some capacity. So I would ask Julius Caesar that. I'm going to go way back.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, good answer. Sheffield Wednesday. That was the name of their lower tier team.
Why is
Sheffield
it called
Wednesday.
that?
I think because they practiced on Wednesdays.
Man, they're really running out of ideas, the soccer team.
Let's see. David Hearn Ryder asks, have you seen a rugby league match like NFL without the protection?
Absolutely.
The Philadelphia Fight are the top team in the U.S.
Oh, I don't watch U.S. rugby ever.
I've watched some rugby, but I've never watched a complete match.
You know, back in the day when I lived up on the mountain, we got a little thing called ESPN2, and this is when ESPN2 didn't show nothing.
Mhm.
They showed cooking shows, they showed rugby from like Australia.
Right.
They also showed Australia was football. That's where I saw that too. Now listen, you got rugby, and then you got rugby, where the suckers whooping that tail, big muscular. Because these guys, it's not like in America. I mean, now listen, American rugby's come a long way, okay, but these are big, husky.
Yeah,
scumbags.
because they're the first-tier athletes in their country.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. They're
Yeah.
like all
it's
the
the same
top
reason why
athletes.
soccer is not big in this country, because all the first-tier athletes go to our sports.
Exactly. And so let me tell you something. I got into it. I got into rugby. I got into Australian rules football, and I got into sumo. I loved all those because I could see them.
Right.
And they were interesting. Now, I didn't realize how fixed sumo was. That really brought me down on it. But it's neat to be able to experience these sports you don't get to normally see. I never got into American rugby. I don't follow any college teams. It's not because they're no good, or I don't know if there's a pro league. I just never got into them.
Right.
Then you never see them. I've never seen a pro. What about you? Rugby? Nothing?
I honestly did not think that there was a pro rugby team in the United States.
Yeah, I had no idea.
So, congrats to the Philadelphia Fight. Good work.
Also, I hate Philadelphia.
You hate every big city.
No, not all of them, but I don't like Philadelphia. Have you been to Philly?
Yeah.
I know, it's no good.
Super Tech Boy writes, what do you consider the best and worst video game to movie adaptation?
Oh, man. Video game to movie. So it started out as a video game and went to a movie. Well, it's not what you think. Some people would say Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, but there's much worse.
People say, well, it's, Super Mario Brothers always comes
Horrible.
up in these.
Yeah,
and
that one's
I have not seen that since I saw it when I was a kid in the theater.
Yeah.
So maybe it's great now.
No.
Who knows?
It's horrible.
Okay.
So
that
one
that's
is
probably
number one
the
with
answer?
a bullet in terms of like what you had and what you got. They had unlimited budget. They had a big property. They had big name actors.
Right.
And what they got was crap. Okay. Double Dragon is horrible. All right. It's horrible. I couldn't even sit through Doom. I couldn't sit through freaking what was the other one? Some of the Mortal Kombat sequels were god awful.
Which one was the one where they rolled around in the hamster balls?
I don't know that one, so I didn't see it.
I think that was Mortal Kombat 3. Available straight to VHS.
Yeah, no kidding. So there have been so many. Oh, I like some of the later Resident Evil sequels that were no good, and I love the chick in those movies, but man, but Double Dragon is particularly heinous. It's awful bad. But there's so many. My God, I never saw the Sonics. I don't know about those. And you ever see those?
No, those are new. Those are just a couple years old.
Well, yeah.
And this Super Tech Boy's second question: when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Astronaut.
Yeah, when I was a kid, like 5 or 6, I wanted to be an astronaut.
Because that was we grew up when it was awesome.
Yeah.
Not like now.
Yeah.
Now it sucks.
David Hearn Ryder asks, what adventure game have you played, not finished, and one day hope to return and finish?
I don't play a lot of adventure games. I'm going to count this as an adventure game. I have never beaten the original Prince of Persia. I would love to do it. And there is an adventure there. So I'm going to cheat and say that.
That is not an answer, but we'll move
There's an
on.
adventure going on.
There's an adventure in every game.
Not every game. What about Tetris?
Tetris, yeah.
What about 3D tic-tac-toe?
Listen, 3D tic-tac-toe is one of the most adventurous games.
What about
I know.
Rubik's Cube for the 2600? I could
Okay,
go on.
you got me there.
All right.
So for me, I bought a bunch of the LucasArts Telltale Monkey Island games.
Yeah.
And I thought they were really good.
Yeah.
And I beat the first couple. Also the Strong Bad games, the Homestar Runner, which I think were also made by Telltale. I think that the Telltale adventure games are really good and really funny. I just don't. I just get away from them and I forget that I have them. So those are my two.
I thought of another one. And
Okay.
this one meets your criteria, your strict criteria. LucasArts had a game called Full Throttle.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a motorcycle
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
I thought that was a pretty cool game.
Okay.
And so that was one I never beat either. And so that one would meet your strict criteria. I
Yes,
think.
because that's a point-and-click adventure.
He didn't say point and click.
Well, he said what adventure game? Point-and-click, text adventure, FMV, or whatever.
Or whatever.
Okay, there you go. Prince of Persia. Paul, a.k.a. Hermsky, asks, if you could choose any 8-bit game to be converted to VR, what would you choose and
VR.
why?
Well, you're the guy that owned the whole full. Do you still own the full VR rig?
I'm thinking about selling it.
Do you use it much?
Nope.
The VR? Well, we
No.
should get stuff to play that.
What do you mean?
I want to play it. I don't got to do any VR.
I'll let you have it.
Don't give it to me. I want to play it with you.
How do we do that?
We get together real close, and
I don't think it works that way.
close one eye.
But
So an 8-bit property that I could convert into a VR game.
Right.
Bam! I got it. Forbidden Forest. I'm done.
That is pretty
I'm
good.
out. Thank you. Thank you. You can't beat that.
Yeah.
Well,
I can't.
try to beat it.
Dizzy. Yeah, Forbidden
Would you
Forest.
really try to beat it with something?
I
You love 8-bit games. Pick one. Adam's Family. What about that in VR?
No, that would be
Can you
horrible.
imagine the jumps in that?
Yeah. Forbidden Forest is that's a great choice. I'm gonna go with that too. I'm
Oh
stealing your
my
answer.
God! What a hoser.
Christian Russell asks, are John's students aware of his retro passions and the depth and breadth of the podcast he produces? And if so, what do they think of it? Yes, most of them are familiar with the fact that I have a YouTube channel. 0% of them have any interest whatsoever because, the way that the games that we talk about, it would be like if your teacher had a podcast about the radio hits of the 20s.
Yeah.
This is the level of
I would
interest
watch
kids
that.
have
That'd be cool.
in retro video games. So they think it's cool that I have a YouTube channel that's got subscribers. They don't think it's cool that I talk about games they're not interested in.
Those are two. We've got to talk about these in the chat. There's two good answers. They're better than what you had, which was none.
Yeah.
3D Death Chase.
Yep.
That's the first game we played on the ZX. I
Yep.
recall. And then
Yep.
also Law of the West, which that was a cool game in CC4. Oh, Happy's cranking them out. Star Wars Arcade. I can see it. They'll probably come along.
I think that actually already exists.
Yeah,
I
there
think
you go.
got
I know they
something
got a
like
Star
that.
Wars
Yeah.
game of some sort.
Same question to you, Aaron. What do your colleagues think about your retro passions?
I tried like gangbusters to keep them from knowing about my retro passions because I didn't want to know I did a show. Because I've occasionally done a little thing or two in the lab,
Mm-hmm.
but they know.
How about the big boss? Does
He
know?
knows. Oh yeah, they think it's they know. They know I'm a strange guy. I guess they think they're wrong. They're the strange one, but they don't know. I don't think they. A lot of people, if you say, "Yeah, I've got a YouTube channel," they think you're the biggest. Like everyone knows you.
Right.
Right. It's like, well, let's say a small tier
Mm-hmm.
YouTube channel. We're not like getting millions of subscribers, and so that it's in some ways it's funny because when they'll tell people, oh, he's got a YouTube channel, like look him up, and they can look me up, but I'm there, and provided they don't look at the size of the channel or any of the content, we're golden as long as they just check me out. But no, it's not something I talk about. Now my buddy at work does know. And we often talk about, we often discuss some of the stuff we talk about.
The biggest thing, the only thing that's ever impressed anybody was when I told people I got to go to Ireland, and they're like, "Wow, that's awesome!" So that's been the only bit when I'm like, "Yeah, I've got a YouTube channel, and we talk about old video games." And I'm like, "Have you heard of the Amiga?" And then I see the glassy-eyed stare.
Have you told them about Boat Fest?
I
mean, it's an event
yeah.
dedicated to you.
Some of my teacher friends know about Boat Fest. Yeah.
Did we mention your accolade on the show? Any of the shows today?
We didn't. We don't have to mention.
We should
that.
mention that because the Boat is now the teacher of the year in Putnam County.
Just middle school.
Congratulations,
Boat.
Now that's the hardest school. Name a harder one. He's the middle. He's not the band director of the year. He's not the Winfield teacher, that guy that gets a big bomb of can of Coke. This is the teacher, the one teacher across all the classes of the year, Putnam County, John Bodekar-Challer.
It's true.
Excellent work,
Thank
Bode.
you.
And you're caking, and then you've got that accolade, and then you go to Boat Fest with that.
That's true.
That's going to turn into big bucks, brother.
I'll bring the plaque to Boat Fest.
Give it up for the boat here. That's the shoot. He's actually teacher of the year,
That's
Boat.
true.
Didn't think you were going to win it, did you?
I didn't. I
made a few calls, Boat.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Chris Folds asks, what tune from a video game would you have played at your funeral?
The opening theme from Blood Money comes to mind. Also, I thought about this, unrelated why, but the opening theme to Zool, it's so stupid.
Yeah.
All the cartoon sound effects. I can just see people trying to mourn, and that song's played in the background.
I think you should attach that onto your gravestone, and you'd be able to push the button just whenever you walk up to it.
I mean, either one, but that would be certainly the wackiest one to put up there. What about you?
There's a song on the Katamari Damacy soundtrack. That I'd really like to have called. It's called "Roll You Up Into My Life."
Yeah,
that's what I'd want to have played at my funeral.
It's a great song, and I love it because it's cheesy. You ever played the Dreamcast Soul Calibur?
Yeah, but I don't.
It's like it plays a song, and the videos. It's just great Japanese cheese. That will be in the third place.
You know what Rob's going to have played at his funeral? He's going to have the high score music from the C64 version of Commando played at his funeral.
You know what other one would be good is the music from that Monty Mole game. That thing's great.
I don't recall that. I was thinking it was an ARG thing.
Yeah, it was really good.
Let's see. Barkbet asks, regular or zero soda, or diet soda?
Both, but this has a zero right here. It depends on what they've got and what I've got access to. But I'll drink pretty much anything.
I don't drink a lot of pop, which you relentlessly mock me for some unknown reason.
Relentlessly mock you for that?
Every time I'm like, I don't really drink a lot of pop, you're like, I hate people like you.
No, I don't. The reason I say that's because as you say, I don't drink a lot of pop. You're drinking straight tequila from a plastic bottle.
I didn't say it was for health reasons. I don't drink it like I just got out of the habit. But when I do drink it, I've discovered, going back here recently, I really dislike Coke, like Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
And I like Pepsi.
Yeah.
I like Pepsi.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Although the Mexican Coke's pretty good.
I haven't had the straight sugar Coke before.
Triple cream, brother. It's good.
David Hearn Ryder asks, when was the last time you took a drive just for the sheer pleasure of it? And Aaron, he says, I know you drive lots every day, so it might have been a while ago for you.
It's been a while because I do drive. It's like the old, how often does the mailman take a walk on his day off?
Right.
That's the way I feel. But I do. Listen, I will say I enjoy my drives more than almost anyone because and you know this from knowing me, I'm a real natural splendor kind of guy. Like I was going from one jail to another last week, and I got up over this hill, and it's in a flatter part of Kentucky, and both sides of the road were just farmlands, and they had all these purple plants, and it was just beautiful, and I was just like, my God, I just left the jail. And I'm going to another jail, and I got 2 more jails to go to that. But I was just like, this is the best. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful sunny day. And look at this. I mean, where can you get this?
Right.
You can't. So most of the time, I'll look at the drives that I go on as a privilege, not a detriment. Now, the ride back and forth to work, detriment.
Yeah, that's a horrible
because all the traffic and stuff.
That's horrible.
But like when we went to visit Pat, beautiful. I told Lou, look at these beautiful creeks and the valleys. We're incredibly fortunate because we live here. Mm-hmm. So every drive is a scenic drive.
Yeah, I feel the same way. When I drive to school in the morning, I purposefully take the back way. I go 60 down past and then take the 817 back up by the old drive-in up to Winfield. Yeah. And I love that drive. I love it every day. I'll tell you my very favorite place to drive is on 60. Just when you drive past Culloden, before you get to Milton, and there's this grove of trees in the summertime where it completely covers the road, just past the Dollar General.
Plus, you're on your way to the Coal Miners Lounge.
That's true. It's true.
So you get this beautiful scenic wonderment before you hit the Coal Miners Lounge. Then you're in. Then the flea market's there. You're right, Bo. That is beautiful. When's the last time you and Eve just hopped in the car and took a drive? Women love that.
She works all the time.
Uh-huh.
So We never take
Give
a
her
drive.
a day off, would you?
Listen, I want her to take tons of days off.
No,
She never
you
wants
give
to
her
do
a
it.
day off. Don't work her in
You-
the yard when she's got a 5-day week.
Listen, I can't help what she does. I've got my own cross to bear.
You should give your certificate to her.
My what?
Your certificate
Oh,
for
my
teaching,
yeah,
because she enables you to
she
just
does-
concentrate fully on teaching.
She does. She does. She was out there. She's doing this yard leveling project right
Yeah.
now. She's bought a bunch of soil and she's like hand leveling the
Oh
yard.
man, I need to do
So-
that for my pool.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay.
I can't believe we had all these questions, and we're really getting a lot of good ones here.
Yeah, yeah. Paul, aka Hermsky, asks, how often do you perform an oil change in your vehicle?
Never. I never change my own oil. I don't.
No,
have
no,
that.
no. I mean, maybe
Oh.
it's how many miles?
Well,
between changes.
I have changed my philosophy on oil changes as years have rolled on, because in the old days, I never ever got oil changes ever, because my cars were double garbage,
Mhm.
and I never did it. I would put oil in them because they would burn through
Right.
it, but I never got the oil change. Now, in my current vehicle, yes, whenever it's time to get an oil change, I go get.
How
an oil
many
change.
miles is it?
They put a sticker on my car, and they
Oh.
tell me when to come
Okay.
get one. That's what
So
I do.
they always put 3,000 miles on there, but every car is different. My car is 7,500 miles in between changes.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Now I know people that do their own oil changes.
Yeah.
but not us.
Not me.
Could Eep do one?
She
I'm
probably
surprised
could
you don't
if
have
she
her
wanted
shoved
to.
out of the car.
The
doing
thing
that.
is, it's so cheap and it's so easy. You don't have to
It's
worry
not
about
that
the
cheap.
disposal.
I pay big money for that.
I
I
don't
go to
pay
that
much.
10-minute deal. They just roll. You literally stay it in your car.
I don't sit in my car, but I go to Walmart and they do it.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
don't
$45.
I don't trust those guys. They're kind of
I trust them with my life. Christian Russell says he recently watched the Kevin Costner Hatfield McCoy miniseries, which got
Yeah.
me thinking: have either of you ever held a serious grudge or feuded with someone? If so, tell all.
Oh.
Have you ever feuded with
You
someone?
feuded with me over stuff.
That's not a feud.
I was a feud for my life, as they'd say on the show. I heard that show was good. Kevin Costner's such a horrible actor that it's hard for me to watch anything he does. I mean, he's always the same. How this guy ever got into acting? I mean, and I like a lot of his movies, but he's the worst actor in all of his films. Did I ever be in a feud? You know, I try to be get along with people. You know, I suppose when I was a kid, my next door neighbor didn't like me. He wanted to beat me up. You know, and I was kind of scared of him. Despite the fact I was a real big guy. He was real fast. He was in the wrestling team. One time he just kept taking me down. I could do nothing. I didn't know what to do. I was a doofus. So I walked away. I ran. Sort of crying.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
when I
so-
consider a feud, like, it's got to be, like, protracted, and it's something, like, for an adult. Like, kids don't really have feuds, you know? Like, there's people you avoid. And so, like, there's coworkers that I have that we don't speak to each other, not because I don't want to speak to them, but because they hold a grudge against something that I've done from many years ago. And
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In your sordid past?
Yeah. And,
Do
I mean,
do they deserve to hate you?
No.
Oh.
No. I feel like I was in the right. But, so I guess that's probably the feud, but I would gladly be friendly with this person, but I'm not going to go out of my way to be friendly to them if they don't want to be friendly with me.
I'm fixing a feud with some people in the ball league. I'm getting
Yeah.
I'm working on a feud right now, but I'm not up there
Are
yet.
you preparing your phone call?
I'm preparing the soliloquy. I'm gonna cut a promo on this guy that would make Ric Flair bow down.
That's
I'm
good.
gonna unload.
You got to tape that, stream that.
I may
bad
do
boy.
it. That might might as well get a little buckaroo
Right,
out of it.
right. Put it up as a Facebook reel. Paul, aka Hermsky, asks, "What is your earliest gaming memory?"
Well, my earliest gaming memory that was at home was one of those Pong machines because my uncle had one. I don't remember the one. And my earliest gaming memory not at home was either that gunfight game, you know, where the two guys stand on the side of the
Mhm.
screen with the coach that goes through,
Right.
or the original Space Invaders. Because they had both those at my local Hex. I don't know which one I saw first. We went to a lot of arcades, but before they had video games, they had like the mechanical stuff. So if you count those, I saw tons of those before I saw video games.
Those are crazy big money these days.
Well, like the baseball ones, or like the ones where you fly stuff, helicopters and stuff.
Right.
And those are super freaking cool.
Yeah.
Or the shooting galleries. I saw those, but in terms of video games, it'd be Pong, one of the Pong machines, and it would be those two other games. What about you?
I was about 5 when we moved to Hurricane, And my next door neighbor, who was my best friend growing up, still remember this to this day. The first time I ever saw a video game, I walked into a bedroom, and they had a 2600 set up, and it was playing Pac-Man.
Yeah. Oh man.
And I was just like, "This is the greatest thing ever. It's the greatest thing ever." And then the first time I saw a video game outside of the house was going to Kmart, and they had an NES hooked up right by where you check out at Kmart, like on the end cap of the thing, and I saw that. And I was probably about 6 or 7 then. So,
very good, Boat.
Chris Folds writes, "Have you ever?" Oh, I'm sorry, I missed one. Lord Soup writes.
Oh, you don't want to miss him.
Yeah, I don't want to miss Soup.
He'll stick you.
He says, "Often manufacturers try to make console versions of successful computers. I didn't know that was the case. Are there any consoles that you think should have been home computers?" Oh, I see. I was thinking about the other way around. But yeah, that's definitely true. Like the C64 tried to make a console version, or the XEGS
or the
and stuff
Amiga.
like that. So are there any consoles that you think should have been home computers?
Well, I mean, you could say like one of the PlayStation 3 comes to mind. I believe you could run Linux on it.
Mm-hmm.
So that one would come to mind. The Xbox effectively was a Windows computer. Dreamcast ran a version of Windows CE. So you could, all those would come to mind. If you're talking about classic stuff, I mean, boy, it was tried and failed so many. Not just, I mean, think about the Aquarius was in there, the Atari 2600.
Well, even the NES in Japan had a keyboard and had BASIC and all this stuff.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of some that didn't get a conversion to a computer, or like even, I mean, they almost all did.
Here's the thing: what you need to have a successful console that's turned into a computer is you have to have rewritable media. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's where all of these things failed, because the 2600, it had that keyboard. Lots of things had a keyboard, but if you don't have a way to write programs and save them, then you've got nothing. You've got nothing.
Let's go with, here's one, because this thing desperately needed an edge. Okay, I'm going to go in left field here, Bo. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
The 3DO. This thing had a decent chipset. It had a CD capabilities. You could burn CDs for it at least. It had memory cards and whatnot, and it had the networking capability, such as it was. And I think it would be powerful enough to have been a halfway decent machine.
Mm-hmm.
And since it was not that great a console, maybe that could have been given it an edge that it didn't otherwise have, because it clearly couldn't stand up against what the competition was all about.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about stuff like the 2600 or even the Nintendo, but I don't think that, maybe the Nintendo, but like the 2600, it physically could not display like text on the screen, like a 40-column display that you need to have to write code or something like that.
Let's go just for a second. Think about all the consoles that got turned into computers, okay? Or were given computer-like capabilities. The Atari 2600, the Intellivision, the Coleco. They were all, you mentioned the NES, the Famicom. Was another one. None of those were successful. I don't know how successful the Famicom computer system was.
Not successful.
But I mean, I've seen some stuff where they used it for different stuff. But none of those were successful. I mean, they weren't even, in fact, a couple of them killed their companies.
Right.
The Aquarius and the Atom flat out killed their parent companies.
Super Tech Boy says Neo Geo. That could be interesting. That could be interesting.
I don't know about the Neo Geo's capability. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and you've got stuff like the 68,000. That's as close as you're going to get to a computerized Neo Geo. I think they're similarly capable.
Right.
They're not really compatible in any
That's
way.
Good. That's a good point.
So.
Chris Folds writes, "Have you ever turned down a pay rise?"
I don't think so. Yes, I take that back. I had a job I worked at ACS. I scanned microfiche into computers for an insurance company. And the day they offered me a full-time position with full benefits, I quit. So I guess that would count. And the reason I quit was because my dad had gotten ill, and I wanted to come home. It was really bad. Thankfully, it was not. Dad's still around, doing great.
Was this in Lexington? This
is when I lived. That was the last job I had before I moved back to West Virginia. Was this job? And the day they made me a full-time employee, I left. I told them, I was like, "Listen, it's finally you've done this. I got to go." And I gave them my 1 week. I was like, it was pretty bad. I was thinking it was gonna be bad, so I left. So I guess I did do it at one time.
Well, when you teach, you don't get to turn down pay rises because they come and you just have to take it. There's no way you can accept less than what you get. However, I guess I should count the time that I had the opportunity to double my salary taking that job at State, and I ended up not.
I was just talking to my buddy about that situation because you'll recall I thought you were the biggest moron I'd ever seen. He's like, you're an idiot. You just turned out all this money, and we'd also rearranged all the shows. We had a bunch of legwork to make sure your move went easily, but you have proven by getting this big certificate that you made the right call because you told me you did it for the kids, brother. Most people say that you're like, listen, this geek, but I know you did it because you weren't doing it for the money, and of course you got back at the worst time when COVID kicked back in.
Right. So
we know you did it for the kids and it paid off. So you showed me. I'll shut the hell up next time you make a move.
Benz asks, what was the last game you couldn't wait to get home and play?
Well, this one's on the list right here. I sat on this for a long time. If you're listening, this is Nick Miranda's 0 Hour, which we just looked at on the Coco show this month. Man, I've been holding on to this thing. I'd seen a lot of the preview footage and stuff, and I was dying to play it. But I wanted to wait until we looked at it, and we go monthly. So I sat there. This thing sat on my shelf. I opened it the day it came in, and I played it as soon as I could. And it's quite good. I recommend it. But that one, the most recently, that one's the one.
For me, it was when I bought a 3DS and the Zelda game that came out on that. So this is recent. I bought it at the mall, and Eep wanted to continue to shop. And so I actually went out to the car and fired it up in the car and played it until the battery ran out.
That makes me happy that you're still into it.
I'm still like 6 years old.
How long ago was this?
This was in like 2014.
So we hadn't done the show yet.
No, it was pre-show.
I wonder if it'd be like that now because we play so much now. Would you still be that fired up?
No. My whole attitude toward video games has shifted markedly since we started doing these shows. Paul, a.k.a. Hermsky, asks, what's the one thing you'd like to go back in time to unlearn?
If I could turn back time and unlearn, is this so we can relearn it and re-enjoy learning? Or
you can take this as you will.
One thing I wish I could unlearn my love of pizza. That'd probably be a pretty big.
I don't know if you could unlearn that.
I'm going to dovetail off something I mentioned on the last Ask the Amigos. I would go back and unlearn French. Because my whole life would be different if I'd never taken French. So because when I went to college and ended up bombing out of college, it was directly related to taking college French that I wasn't ready for. So if I'd never taken French and never learned anything, which to be honest with you, unlearning this is the lowest of unlearning. But I would probably have graduated from proper college, and I mean I feel pretty happy where I'm at, but you never know. So I'm going to say that.
I thought about this because I remember I don't always read all these, but every once in a while I'll check in just to see what's there, and I thought about this. It's a really tough question to think about because I feel like everything you learn you benefit from, and if you unlearn it, I mean, maybe like a bunch of like uncouth jokes.
You can unlearn the hideous truth about someone which you didn't know.
That's true. We'll go with that.
But you got to point out. I mean,
there's a guy that I really respect. His name was John Vanier. He was a
name and names.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a famous celebrity, and he's also dead.
Oh, I thought it was like
but he started a home for mentally impaired people all over the world called L'Arche, and it's a really fantastic organization. But it turns out that he was like a total scumbag and sexually molested all these women and all this stuff. And so
Neil Cosby.
Yeah. So. I'll go with that, but that's a tough question, Paul. I'll have to ponder that more. David Z asks, what was the longest power outage you had to experience?
Oh, man.
Well, I'll answer this one first.
Ahead.
So it was about 94 or 95, somewhere around there. And we just talked about Charlie's Creek. I was with my buddy Logan down Charlie's Creek. I used to go down there and spend the winters with him when we were in school. And the power was out for a week and a half. A week and a half is as long as I've gone without power.
Yeah, we had a ice storm in Kentucky when I lived there. Had a house there, and one pole in my yard broke and severed the power to my house. Okay, as well as other houses. The power was out everywhere, but this was specifically to my house. It took them 2 weeks to get the power on, and so for a while, and it was it was winter, by the way, and it was ice cold. So I stayed there for a couple days. Then I went and stayed with my buddy at a hotel, which was horrible. This was horrible because that's a long story. And then ultimately, I drove back to West Virginia. But I had no power for 2 weeks. The longest I've personally been without power was when the Duratio came to town that first time and knocked out power for 3 or 4 days. That sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember being at his house, and we played so much Game Boy that, like, at night we were sleeping in front of the fire because there was no heat. And I guess I was sleepwalking or something, but I was looking into the fire, and his mom was like, "What's going on, John?" And I was like, "I can't beat it. I can't beat this level." And she's like, "John, you're dreaming. Get back to sleep."
Wow.
It's crazy.
That's crazy,
Yeah.
man.
But that's what. Yeah, that was it.
I like that.
Super Tech Boy asks, if you had the chance to colonize a new solar system, but it was a one-way trip with no option of return to Earth, would you do it?
Hell no.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it either.
Not now.
I
When
like
I was
it
younger, I might, but not now because I'm. You stop. You keep looking at the video game. You
I'm
can't help
looking
yourself.
at you.
I've seen you look over there. We've got the
Well,
arcade.
what do you
machine.
expect me to do?
We got
What do you think about that, Aaron?
We got the arcade machine lit up, and Brent does the same thing.
Well, it's because there's a screen in front of you.
It's funny.
Stop looking at that screen.
No, but I'm on that screen. What was the question?
We're moving on.
You get too mad. I'm just saying. You can't help but look at Atlantis on the. It's a good game. I love it too.
Ben says, I've been playing Solitarica for years on iPhone. Do either of you play games on your phone? And if you do, what's your go-to title?
Oh,
I do
God,
not, I do not play games on my phone.
I play games on my phone.
What do you play?
I play a football game that we
Retro Bowl?
Yeah.
Mhm.
We found Brent introduced me to this on the ARG on an episode. It's a lot of fun. I also play Spades. I also play Ticket to Ride, and I also play what's the other one called? What's that stupid game? Settlers of Catan. I play all those games on my phone. So there you go. Oh, and also we've got Angry Birds. I'll play that occasionally too.
Let's see. Coming up next is I did play Angry Birds, I guess, when that was a big thing.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know.
I still got. I got the Star Wars one on there for the kid.
Lord.
And Chaos. I got that on there too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lord Soup says, "Do you guys have a favorite wrestling promo?" He says his is Macho Man referring to Ricky the Dragon Steamboat as a cup of coffee.
That's a very classic promo.
What does he say?
Well, I mean, I can't tell you
Is it racist?
No,
Oh,
what?
okay.
No. Ricky Steamboat's also white.
Okay.
I don't know what you're going. I don't know where you're going.
I don't know.
I would go. Listen, it's probably gonna be something. I'll tell you, the pipe bomb is great from CM Punk.
You gotta explain because nobody's gonna be. Oh yeah, the pipe bomb.
No, wrestling. Only wrestling fans would get any of these.
No, you gotta say like I'm gonna come at you like a pipe
He
bomb.
said a promo where he basically buried the promoter. He was leaving. He buried the promoter, buried the promotion. He buried all the top stars. Like, he talked about people that were in other promotions. He talked to the people at home. I mean, it was a full burial, but it's super famous now. That was a real good promo. Of course, Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair have had so many great promos. Dusty's Hard Times promo is a classic. Ric Flair's had too many great promos to even. I mean, he's the best. And Cornette has cut some awesome promos. So the old NWA guys are my favorite guys for the promos. I mean, they're outstanding. Although there are some good current workers now that can cut a good promo, but those old guys are tough to beat.
I really like The Rock. I think he cuts,
he's another one. He's
good
very,
promos,
and they're funny too.
Yeah. Mr. Chip asks, "Are your freaks varied?"
Mate, you say one dumb thing. I saw someone clip that too. They are quite varied. Actually, that's not true. My freaks are.
They're all kind of the same.
They're hard to find.
You're a freak magnet.
Oh yeah.
Christian Russell asks, if you could speak 3 other foreign languages fluently, what would you choose?
I don't speak any fluently.
Well, you gotta pick 3.
Japanese would be number 1. Spanish would be number 2. That gets all my wrestling covered right there.
That's true.
And lastly, I would not. Oh, I'll tell you what. Norwegian. That would be fun to speak. I listen to people say that. I'm like, man, I want to get in on that.
I go Japanese, French, and Thai.
That makes sense for you.
Yeah.
Thai would get you over.
Yeah. David Z asks, how many pepperoni rolls can you eat in one sitting? I can answer this immediately. I can eat 3 if they're big. Because I got 4 when I ordered some the other day, and there was 4 was too many.
Would you go Fireside?
No, I went down to remember Books and Brews on Main Street?
Yeah.
They relocated to Charleston, and I went to their Charleston location.
What's at Books and Brews now?
There's a coffee place called The Drip.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. I wonder why they left. Anyway, I would go, if you go to like, by the way, I would suggest you go to Fireside and get the pepperoni rolls as an appetizer.
They good?
Get 2, just eat that your meal.
Yeah.
They're outstanding. I went to the ball game yesterday and they had pepperoni rolls. They were real good there too.
Really?
Yeah. People are baffled at these pepperoni rolls. They got a lot of questions about these. Listen, if you're not in West Virginia, you're out of the loop. It's the one thing. It's the only thing we got. These pepperoni rolls, they're gold.
They're good. They're good.
I'm like Bo. I can eat 3. You can eat more, but then you're pushing it. And the thing is, you get like these kind of like pepperoni rolls are like little round rolls. Then you get the ones that are like almost like a hoagie bun.
That's like a burrito.
Those are
almost.
good eating. And then you get the ones with the cheese in them.
That's
your money pepperoni roll.
That's right. Datadog says, "Is your muffin buttered? Would you like me to assign someone to butter your muffin?"
I do like a little butter on the muffin. I like the old blueberry muffin.
You know what I used to do when my mom would make blueberry muffins when I was a kid?
Yeah.
And I would take a full tub of Blue Bonnet, and every bite I would just put a big dollop of butter and take a bite out of the muffin, then another big dollop.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
I like the blueberry muffins. I like them chocolate chip muffins. Those are good eating.
Yep.
You know? I don't necessarily need any butter. Normally, I don't butter the muffin at all.
Right.
But if it doesn't have any fruit in it, it's
you gotta have something.
Muffin. You gotta put something on there.
That's right.
You know?
Pajako asks, "What's the greatest chat up line you've ever heard or used?"
That's like a pick up a
Yep.
girl. Oh boy, do you ever use those?
No.
You seem like the kind of guy that might use them.
No. I mean, no. I really not even in jest. Because normally you're in a situation where you don't even know the other person. I've only successfully picked up a girl at a bar once.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's failure.
I'm one of these guys that I meet people through other people because I'm not good. I need an audience that knows me where I can work.
Right.
It's always been like that.
Right.
You talked about a stand-up comedian earlier. That's my delivery when it comes to meeting people because if I could say something to get people to laugh, I could work them in.
That's right.
And so that's sort of my angle. I don't really have one line. It also it depends on the situation. Like normally I'm not in a bar trying to pick a chick up. It's at a party or something.
Well, a couple more years when Luke's out of the house, I want to be your wingman, and we're going to hit the coal miners' lounge like there's no tomorrow.
Oh man, maybe we could each get a midget.
Yeah.
Down there. What would he say?
She would.
Knowing you would send her in to pick up the girl.
That's true. I have games to play.
Then you'd be murdered.
Benz asks, "Today I discovered you don't have to keep pressing up in Stunt Car Racer. I played this game a lot and had no idea this was the case. What game-changing mechanics have you discovered in a game years after playing it for the first time?"
That's the old Jeff Crammon game, and I believe his other Grand Prix games the same way. We ought to do that. I'll tell you one that comes to mind is the game we played on the show where we didn't know about the special button. Remember that?
Was Super Stardust.
Super Stardust. And that does change the game radically when you know about that. Another thing, it's funny, just this week when I played Super Burger Time, you jump on the burger parts to make them fall to the next level. Brent found out that you can just hold down and do it. And it makes a big difference in the game. And I went and tried it. I'm like, darn, he's right. I didn't know that. It still stinks. But so those are two that spring to mind. You didn't know them.
I played Mr. Do for an awful long time before I knew he had a ball. Because when he's roaming about, you don't see the ball.
You played this at home.
This was on the Atari. Yeah.
My God, that would make it.
Yeah.
That's a radical change.
Yeah. Paul, a.k.a. Hermsky, asks, "You're on death row.
Oh, God, no.
Final night before your big day. What would be your final choice for your drink, meal, and game to play?"
Oh, man. I would want some non-diet. Oh, man. I could have any drink I wanted.
Yeah.
Probably get me some. I would either want Citrus Drop Extreme or Mountain Dew Code Red. Those are both really tasty. But I could have booze, too.
Mm-hmm.
I'll think. And in terms of food, I'd want an appetizer pepperoni roll. I can do it right now because I'm hungry for them. And we've been talking about them. It's funny. I'm being a big tubby dude that I am. It's not like I've got a go-to meal where I'm like, I gotta have a pot roast or something. I'm not. Most fat guys is like, yeah, put a pig on a spit. I don't do any of that stuff.
You don't put a pig on a spit?
No, I don't. I mean, if he was there, I'd already take a bite of it. So it's not like I would get to. So I would probably go with a Chicago deep dish style pizza.
Oh, that's good.
But of course that sort of counteracts the pepperoni rolls, but I can live with it.
You can look past it.
I like pasta too an awful lot, so that would be up there.
What about the game to play?
The last game I would ever play on this planet, Man, Samantha Fox strip poker.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'd go Crystal Pepsi.
Crystal Pepsi. Oh, I didn't think about that. We
Yep.
can take Pepsi. We can take pumps that don't exist anymore.
Right.
Okay.
And hey, who knows? By the time they find it, you might be cleared.
You know, you clever boy.
There you go.
I would get that pop that they came out with that looked like antifreeze. Remember that? It was like a fluorescent green.
Yeah.
What was that stuff called?
Surge.
Surge. That's
Yeah.
what I would get. Surge. I love that stuff.
Surge was pretty good.
Now, what food would you eat?
Boy, I would go with a Chicago deep dish pizza.
That's good eating.
Yeah,
I could go
yeah.
for it right now.
Yeah. I can't stop thinking
I'm
about
dying
it.
to eat. I'm hungry. Let me ask you, did you actually like Crystal Pepsi, or was that all an
Yeah.
angle?
No, I like Crystal Pepsi.
I thought that stuff was horrible.
I don't know. I can't remember if I liked it or not, but I drank it.
You know, I want to mention this, that and you weren't looking at me that time. You were looking at the screen.
Oh, yeah, because I would look at that.
Well, why did you fight me when I said it?
Because before I was looking at you.
No, bull.
I was looking at Skizzy side.
You know, Super Takeaway in the chat mentions Japanese Kobe steak. Now, here's the problem. I've never eaten any real legitimate food.
Mhm.
It's all been garbage.
Right.
I've never had Kobe steaks.
Right.
I don't know what that. So it could be double awesome. I don't know.
Right.
I never had that. So I'm getting jobbed out on that.
You know what I really like these days that I never used to like before?
I don't.
It's the old Quarter Pounder Deluxe. You ever have one of those?
You got the lettuce tomato
Yeah.
on there. So I don't like it.
See, I used to not, but now I've changed it. Okay. Steve says, in the future there is only war. Which
These are depressing
Yeah.
questions. We just got off death row.
Which 8-bit era game has replaced actual violence to resolve all international conflict?
Simple. Combat for the 2600.
That's a good one. I'm going to go with Karate Champ.
Oh, that's good too. How about that game we played on the 3DO where it had the awesome music? It
Oh,
was a
yeah.
military game.
Yeah, it was a tank game.
That was awesome
Yeah,
too. That'd be
but-
a good. That's a third choice. Was the music.
I'm
That's
trying to
great.
think of what that was called. Maybe somebody
It's
in
the only
chat
thing we
knows.
really liked aside from that wrestling game on the 3DO.
Let's see. Kit asks, what are some guilty pleasure food or snacks you don't want people to know about?
Well, do you care what you eat?
No.
If people, you don't want them to know.
I'm trying to think about like what's something
Like,
that
maybe it's like sardines. What's that? Is there a taboo food like
Maybe-
human flesh?
well, I
or
was
something
gonna
like
say,
that.
maybe something like easy cheese. Like,
Oh, like
I mean,
canned cheese?
Yeah, like I like that stuff.
Oh yeah.
You don't necessarily want to like shove it into your face because I'm always right out of the can with that stuff. That and whipped cream, I only eat right out of the can.
I suppose like coming in, like you're at a party, right? You're gonna pick up that chick, and you come in with a big can of Big K or something. You know, you're like, hey baby.
That's
You know,
true.
that
You
might
don't
not-
want to show
Or,
up. Yeah.
Or you can even come in with like some old granddad. What's the cheapest? Like the Walgreens flavored liquor. It just
Yeah.
says Walgreens label on it. You're like, hey baby, you want some of this?
Yeah.
That might not
Walking
get
in
you
with
over.
Big K, that's not going to get you places.
And the thing is, the Big K stuff's good. It's cheap.
Yeah.
You regular Big K?
Well, it's not the best. Chris Folds writes, and this is our final question.
Oh man.
What's the deal with cheese in a can?
Did you read
I
that
did,
before you?
I
Oh,
did.
with that gummit.
So the deal with cheese in a can is great. Okay, there's a couple ways you can get it. You get the
can.
cheese that's actually in a can that you take off the top. That's like your Velveeta. Okay, what you do with that is you take yonder spoon and you just shove it in your mouth.
But no one does that.
I
'Cause
do.
You gotta get the crap that's like the gassed up. And
Well,
then
yeah,
it
but yeah,
shoots
the
out.
real cheese in a can is
Cheese
the
whiz.
cheese whiz. And then what you do is you get your chicken in a biscuit.
Yeah.
Okay, you put that on there.
Yeah.
Right in the mouth.
Now here's the thing. You're ready to be stunned. Like I never eat that stuff. I never buy it and I never eat it.
I don't eat it often, but when it's around, I'll eat
No,
it.
I never eat it.
Really?
It's not because I don't like it. It's just that's never because I listen.
So like if we're over at Matt's and we're watching some Sales of the Unexpected and there's a can of Cheese Whiz right there, you're not going to put it on a little cracker or something and put it in your mouth?
Maybe.
See?
But listen, you just reminded me of something. So I get this stooged off to me. I got to look up the guy's name that did it. So get this. Speaking of that, this is a good way to close the show. There's currently a new Tales of the Unexpected that's being played. It's
Really?
and yeah, get this. We can watch it free on Prime.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I got stooged up by a guy who told me, he's like, listen, I hear you like this show.
I don't know what stooged out means.
He let me in the loop.
Okay.
He told me about it. And he says it's free. You can watch it like right now. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, crap. You know, so I'm going to.
There we go.
There you go.
All right. Well, thank you as always, everyone, for hanging out with us if you're in the chat. We will be back next month with another edition of Ask the Amigos. Until then, adios.